there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beer with the Boss, that podcast where a guy and his boss have a beer and talk about technology and whatever is trending out there. Today, we're exploring the world of DevSecOps, this emerging philosophy that integrates security practices into the software development process from the very beginning. And with the increasing number of cyber attacks and data breaches, DevSecOps has become a critical aspect of building secure and resilient systems. So stay tuned as we discuss this. Well, I'm Rodrigo Matos. I work at Webera.
And I'm Joe Zamboni. I'm founder and CEO of Webera and co-host of the show. And we are here to share our thoughts from the front lines and have a beer with you. Cheers to another episode of Beer with the Boss. And today we have another guest here who is Franklin Ribeiro. He's gonna talk to us about DevSecOps, as Rodrigo mentioned earlier. And I will stop talking and ask Franklin, introduce yourself and let me know what you're drinking.
Hey guys, hello there. I'm Franklin. I'm DevOps engineer here at Webera, and today I'm drinking some different without the beer, but I'm staying in a few weeks ago. I'm in Mexico, and I brought some tequila from there, and I'm drinking about one tequila with peanuts.
That's interesting. Why are you drinking, Joe?
I'm drinking a beer here. I am today again on a pub, Lost Rhino, and I forgot what I ordered, but I drink. It's good.
That's a good beer. That's a good beer.
It's a good beer. I'm good at drinking beer. How about you, Rodrigo? What are you drinking?
Well, I have to be honest. I said I was not going to say it, but I am. Today's a holiday in Brazil, so all the shops are closed. I could order a beer delivery, but I look in my fridge and I saw 2 cans of beer. But then I got the beer and it's a 0 alcohol Heineken. But no problem, tastes like beer, but I don't feel anything. It's still okay, just for the show.
Yeah, and today we have a different kind of Franklin is the first guy that went higher than alcohol, right? Like in alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normally we have either people who drink.
That's true.
Our guests or drink beer or drink something with water. And Franklin,
yes,
went higher than
exactly.
beer.
Well done, Franklin. Well done, man. That's very good. So, Franklin, can I ask you the first question? We want to learn a little bit more about DevSecOps. So I want to ask you if you could explain to us how DevSecOps differs from traditional development or operations roles.
The DevSecOps are technicals that allowing us to integrate the security tools inside the traditional DevOps workflow, and including them inside our CI/CDs pipeline to analyze the code, images, packages, and so on, and everything related to the application itself that could have vulnerabilities or security breaches before putting that then in production. That is just one resume of the DevSecOps, right?
Yeah, that's cool. As I think we mentioned sometimes in past shows, I think we had a person already talking about DevSecOps at least. We try to avoid this at Webera. We try to split the work. Let's say have someone else auditing our work, but then we also include some of those disciplines in our daily work. So it's not that we don't do. It's just that we want to be external people making sure that we are doing the right thing, because security as DevOps itself, right? So DevOps, we usually say that's a discipline that wants to take the code from the developer machines and put in production. That's not always the developer target, but it's our target. We wanted to take the code from the machine and put in production as fast as possible. Security, it's also important part of our job, but it's not our primary target. So in a way, we need someone else to complement or to help us out to validate that our work is actually producing a secure environment, not only from the perspective of tools, but also the whole shebang.
Yes, I think that is the biggest challenge that we face day by day, because we need to tools. Yeah, everything that we do needs tools, but we don't need to think about that tools resolve everything. But you need to thinking about security in every feature that you release on your application. You need to thinking about how this could be exploited for something that is no good feeling or is a badly guy, right? Because how we could to thinking about to code when cleaning code, and that code not could be exploited for anyone, and it's complicated to thinking about that and thinking about the feature that you need to deliver, right?
Let me ask you guys, what are some of the biggest challenges nowadays in terms of security for software development, and how can DevSecOps help address these challenges?
I think that this, in my perspective, the most complicated challenge that we face today is the velocity that the security vulnerabilities are discovered and exploited, right? Because every day we find new breaches, and sometimes that is used in applications that we used every day and in many years, right? If you searching for this today, if you find many communities that is updated daily, and they start to exploit our breaches as soon as they know them. So the challenge is how could we keep our applications always updated and not exposed to that attacks at the same velocity that these vulnerabilities are discovered. Beyond that, we must not only worry about our applications, but the third-party code also, like libraries that you install inside your application or something like that. You need to thinking about that also in your developer daily, because if you're not thinking about that, you could to face to put new breaches and new bugs or new ways that the guys could to use to attack you. So that is for me is more complicated.
Yeah, the famous or infamous supply chain attacks, right? We have those days. We have these kind of vulnerability now where people are exploiting adding code to the intermediate. Like you can download a library or add a library to your application, and that library ends up adding another library that adds another library, and that third or fourth library is extra vulnerable. So that is messing up everything those days, and these days, sorry. It's crazy. Like today, like just few minutes ago, one of our teammates received a request from a developer. Oh, I need to build an image with a 5 years old package. I was like, dude, that is unbelievable. How? Why?
Yeah, so it's stupid.
Yeah, it's like you want us to build an image with like like today, if you get a software, if you download a software just compiled today, it will have an infinite number of vulnerabilities. You just don't know them. 5 years old is like, yeah, it has the same infinity amount of vulnerabilities plus 5 years. So it's
Yes, so it's crazy.
it's unbelievable bad.
And
Anyway,
how to teach them that developers that this behavior is not acceptable for
yeah.
us to put that on production. It's complicated to teaching them that is so dangerous. It's like you put one Windows XP in your machine and think that is secured for you. Surfing on internet using Windows XP in your machine. They don't do that in the real life. So why they trying to do that in a production servers for us is crazy for me.
All right. I was actually going to ask something related to that now, guys. I was going to ask how can we integrate security practices into the software development lifecycle, And if you guys could mention tools or processes in general that could be used to accomplish this.
Yeah, so that is the complicated question, but we have many approaches that we could to follow. But the most common way to do that is to integrate the security tools inside the pipeline to verify and analyze the code in third-party libraries. But that's consuming a time to the development because when you do the code, you need to validate that this code has the breaches or that security issues that is known, on the code on library or third library. And one of the most tools that we could use that is SonarQube, which you could integrate into your code and analyze the code itself as well, as or the packages and Docker images, and there is many things that we could do. And but there are others, obviously, like AWS Inspector is one example, another example that we could to use inside of the cloud itself. But again, the problem is that the time that we increase the development process because we include a new step inside of the pipeline to verify every time that you put the code inside of the repository needs to verify that this code that you put inside of there is one breaches or security issues, and that's so complicated. You need to verify that is good or not for your process development, right?
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah, as many tools as we can add to the stack is good on the security side, at least. I believe a week ago or so, listening to a podcast where the guy were discussing, watching a podcast where they were discussing about, like, I think was the guy who created Doom, John Carmack, and he was saying that at the time that they were writing, and after that, after creating a bunch of games, they all invested in a bunch of tools to actually audit their code and how that make their code so much better. And developers are normally they are afraid of doing this because the tool doesn't do that, or the tool says that my code is doing this and it's not. It was like, dude,
Yeah.
use it, learn it with it. That's beautiful. That's the beautiful. It will tell you some things. It will teach you, and yeah, that'll be amazing. Cool.
Yeah, but a part of this, the security process involve more than just tools, like we mentioned in the first question, because we need to incorporate the security thoughts in the development process, right? In the developers and the infrastructure guys needs to think about the security in all the process. We need every time to think about how could this feature be violated or how this feature could execute in something that I'm not expecting, because that the most of the attacks that we think about the complexity attacks, but the most of cases, 90% of that attacks are so simple, are so exploiting something that you don't thinking about, and not the complexity hackers or something like that. Is so simple in most of the cases.
I'm not a fan of the word, but I guess mindset, right? So the developers have to have the mindset as well to think about it, right? That's
Yeah,
that's
it's security
interesting.
mindset or something.
That's interesting, Franklin. And do you have any I don't know, something that you remember that you faced in the past, like some security branches that you encountered, something that happened in your career that you could share? Like, don't know if you could call it funny, but interesting examples that happened in the past.
Yeah, so one thing that I remembered is about one guy that is an infrastructure guy that installed Grafana inside of the cluster, Kubernetes cluster, but they forgot to change the database of the Grafana. And what is that? This in the default way, the Grafana install one simple database that is not a good database. It's just one text clear. I forgot the name is SQLite. SQLite, right? But
SQLite.
this is just SQLite, right? Right. Thanks, but my pronounce is not good. Okay, but there's about that one text clear, and we could just see everything inside of that database. It's not in one database in really, and the attacker could to access that file, and in that file we had many data sources inside of them, and one of that data sources was AWS credentials, and he got that value and uses to attacker the AWS after, right, to get the users, get the instance is there, and many things. And is that so simple if you think about it? As I mentioned, is the attackers, the most of cases is so simple. It's not complicated. They just to thinking or to thought how I could to get this value, and how these values were has something that I could use in that text. If you think that is so installation clearly, you don't think about that process could to invade it using just one text, right? But is in that case, it's just one text.
Do you have any examples, Joe?
I don't know. I think I have a very old example from the 90s, end of the 90s, like 1998 or something like that. So I was in college, and we was the beginning of the internet, at least in Brazil, and we were trying to learn how the network of the college used to work, and there was this old protocol to authenticate users called NIS, NIS, and was something about sharing passwords across servers. And then we figured out a way to extract the password of the whole thing. And we used a tool called John the Ripper at the time, just by learning. Like we're learning, and we end up getting the passwords of everyone in college. And we start to crack the passwords using John the Ripper. And we didn't have ways to share files, things like that. And then we upload the file to what's called geosite or something. And with that, we end up putting a password, and like the link was the actual file. Like that was the link, like a phrase, like a word, and just the dot was a link to the password. And Alta Vista indexed the dot. So you search by your name on Alta Vista now, and you see your password there. It was funny. It was like,
Oh God.
So in that case, the Joe was attacker,
I
right?
was the attacker. Yeah, I was the guy. But
Yeah.
I thought that was funny thing, right? It was like you search your name on the internet, and then you have your password of the college. Like, oops, that was funny.
Well, if you forget your password, is a
Yeah.
good tool.
So
Yeah, good way. If you forgot your
Yeah, you
password,
can just search.
yeah.
yeah, and I remember one case that we used guys inside of the college also, and there was one proxy blocking the access to the internet, and we used to when most of guys using that we in pen drive we put the one application that runs one proxy that confusing the proxy to the university, and we could to access many of all the internet inside of the university computers. But that's so simple, right? But
Yep,
it works.
works
And
fine.
so one curiosity for you that is in the 2022, the most of the passwords used was, well, one password. It's just password.
Okay.
Just passwords.
In one word, it's just password. So and just so that attack is so simple, right? Because the
Yeah.
guys don't thinking about the security in data. And the second one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the
Yeah.
third one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh God. Okay.
All right,
Well,
guys.
The
yeah,
reference could to use that for invaded or to access your data, your personal data, and many things, and you don't think about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. People don't think about it. Well, frankly, thank you so much, man. Those like, amazing insights you shared with us today. Great stories as well. I hope your tequila is kicking in now. My zero alcohol beer
Yeah.
definitely didn't. And Joe, thank you again, man. Shall we do that next week again? What'd you say?
Yeah, thank you so much. Have
Thank you,
yeah,
guys.
I have no more beer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next
Thank
week,
you so
Joe.
much,
Franklin, thank you so much for joining us today. You're
Acabou,
more than
galera.
welcome to join us again in the future.